Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the channel. I am in Belfry, Kentucky today on one of our classic searches. I'll be heading up into the mountains a little bit later and trying to find an old location. But for the moment, like I said, right now, I am in Belfry, Kentucky at the Belfry Courthouse. Not a very big community at all. I'm not actually here though for the DMV to tell you guys a story about getting my car tags renewed or something. What we're here for today is across the street, right over there, the school. It's Belfry Middle School now. Back in the day, it used to be high school and middle school. There's a new high school now, just down the road a ways, right on the other side of that little hill right there, as a matter of fact. But we'll get over here just in a minute. I actually bought a car off of this guy once, little Mitsubishi Eclipse. Imagine that. Alright, let's see. Where's the best place? Right over there. Gate's closed. We have a story to tell you guys today. Now, y'all know some of our stories some are unusual, some are kind of hard to tell. And today's story will be a little bit of both. Kind of hard to tell because of the subject matter that it deals with, for one reason. So we'll do our best to, as always, do it impartially and respectfully. There's the other end of town. That's the other end of Belfry right there. But we are here for this. Now, we picked a Sunday, so there wouldn't be any kids here, you know. The building should be pretty much deserted and desolate, basically. The only problem with doing it on a Sunday is that the site that I'm going to, the graveyard, is at a church. So, you know, you don't want to get in their way if they're having services. Anyway, let's just have us a seat here and we'll tell you the story. Once we get done, we'll go see if we can find this site or not. Now, gotta kind of set the scene for you guys a little bit. Of course, that's a new building over there. This one right here is the one that we're after. Now, like I said, I need to set the scene for you just a little bit, okay? It's a bitterly cold January here in Belfry, Kentucky. On January 7th in 1952, a discovery inside Belfry High School's basement would shock the small coal camp town. Colonel Joseph Mickey, that was his name, Colonel, that was his first name, not a military rank, known as Joseph, was born on May 5th, 1882 in Stokes County, North Carolina. He was the son of Joseph Franklin Joe Mickey. By the early 1900s, Joseph had made his way into the Tug Fork area, building a life here in Pike County, Kentucky. He married Dixie Lunyon, who was born in 1889 and would live to the ripe old age of 84. Together, they raised a family of 3 sons, Ray, Elbert, and Willard, and 2 daughters, Minerva and another daughter shown only in records as Mrs. Cecil Scott. Those who knew him described Joseph as a man of faith, a deeply religious man who was always friendly, always smiling, and never seemed like the type of man burdened by heavy secrets. For years, he worked quietly as the janitor here at Belfry High and grade school. One of those figures every student and every teacher knew, but very few fully understood. On January 7th, just after 6 p.m., the quiet, calm halls of Belfry High School were shattered by a discovery. His body was found hanging in the basement by Belfry coach John Moracle and a fellow janitor named Charlie. Principal Denver Sloan was quickly notified, and what they found alongside him only deepened the sorrow for everyone involved. Colonel Joseph Mickey had left a note. In it, he gave detailed instructions for his funeral, a plan he admitted he had been working on in his mind for 3 years. The note made clear that this was something that he believed had to be done. The sudden shock from it rippled through Pike County. To neighbors, students, and teachers, Joseph was friendly, devoted to his work, and a faithful, church-going man known by everyone. His death was met by disbelief. A Pike County jury led by Magistrate A.C. Blackburn returned their solemn conclusion. We, the jury, agree that Mr. Mickey met death voluntarily by his own hand. It was the official word now. And with it, the small Appalachian community was left grappling with the loss of a man who had seemed like a constant presence in their daily lives. Funeral services were held Thursday at 11 a.m. at Pond Creek Primitive Baptist Church. From there, Colonel Joseph Mickey was laid to rest at Old Pond Cemetery, not far from here in Belfry. His wife, Dixie, would live on for more than 2 decades after his passing. She never remarried, and when she died in 1974 at the age of 84, she was buried right beside him. Today, their shared headstone marks the resting place of a couple bound together both by love and sorrow. Though his life ended in tragedy, Colonel Joseph Mickey left behind a legacy through his children and all the school children who remember him, and the community that he served in quiet ways every day. For over 20 years, Dixie carried on without him, tending to their family and walking past the very headstone that they would one day share. It's here in the quiet hills of Belfry that the story of Colonel Joseph Mickey finds its ending. A man remembered as jovial, faithful, and kind, yet carrying a burden that no one else could see. We're going to try to find his grave today. There is no GPS to the Old Pond Cemetery, but it's said to be near the church where his funeral was held, and I think I have a good idea where it is. Finding his resting place matters, not just to honor his memory, but to give voice to a man whose life touched so many and whose death still echoes in the conversations of the people who live near Belfry. It reminds us how silent struggles can live behind even the brightest of smiles. and that we all have our battles to fight in this life. His memory lives on, though, not only as the friendly janitor who kept the halls of Belfry shining, but as a reminder to all of us to try to look just a little bit deeper into the hearts of the people that we call friends and family. Now, I'll be leaving from here in just a minute. Now, I think that I know where I'm going. I believe I've got a good idea. It's up on a hillside, and to be honest, like I said, it's late summer. We don't usually do these until after the first frost, when vegetation is down, snakes are down, bears are down, yellow jackets are down, all of that stuff. But we're going to give it a shot. We're going to head down here to a little place called Church House Hollow and begin my search there. From there I go, quote, across the road and up into the mountain. That's where I'm going from here. To the church, across the road, and up into the mountain. Sight unseen, at the worst possible time of year. Let's go do it. Well, guys, as you can see, I seem to have found the church, found the Old Pond Primitive Baptist Church. Now, somewhere across the road, up on the hill, is the graveyard that I'm looking for. Now, believe it or not, I've already spoken to one of the neighbors. Yeah, as soon as I got out, I saw somebody. Hey, I'm not a politician, I'm not a salesman. I was hoping I could ask for some directions, you know, just to kind of, little icebreaker, little, you know. But she was telling me that there's a lady. Said you go right down here and turn up this holler. Said go up to the end. There's a lady that owns the property you have to cross to get back to the graveyard. So that's our next stop, is to go up there, find this house, and get permission to cross the graveyard and delve a little deeper into the story. Well, I found the entrance to the graveyard and I knocked on the door. There's no one home. So I guess we'll go around the property and kind of skirt our way backwards. You know, kind of go through the woods and go up. But yeah, that's it right there, I believe. I see a headstone. It's not the one I'm looking for, but I do see a stone. So, alright, into the weeds and up the mountain. Here we go, y'all. Old school search. Kind of reminds you, you know, back in the colder days. I haven't really done a whole lot of this summer. For obvious reasons. But hopefully, it won't be too hard to find. Cross your fingers, guys. I'm going in. Look out, snakes. Here I come. Well, that wasn't too bad of a search. Took me about 20 minutes, 20 minutes. Not too bad. I was expecting much worse. You know the old saying, hope for the best but expect the worst, and you know that's what I was expecting, the worst. But it's not too bad. It's not overgrown real bad or anything like that. Kinda pretty, you know, given the time of year. I'm sure once the vegetation's down, it's actually probably is very pretty. But anyway, we have found Colonel Joseph Mickey and Dixie. We found them right here. They are resting together for eternity under big old pine tree. It's a nice resting spot, but it's a little bit premature on his side. I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say, the reason, you know, you kind of want to do stories like this, like I said, it's a little bit of a taboo subject, the subject matter. But stuff like that, I think, is also important to mention, you know, to remember. You know, it was a major event here in Belfry, and a man's life, you know, was hung in the balance. But for all outwardly appearances, as far as everyone else could see, I'm sure that his life looked really good. He had a family, he had children, had a loving wife, had a decent job, had, you know, good friends, good neighbors, community that apparently really cared about him. But you never know what people, you never know what silent struggles people are going through back behind the scenes. You know, I mean, it obviously wasn't job related. Dixie, she waited on him her entire life and had herself placed next to him, so it obviously wasn't a, you know, a relationship related thing. Obviously not a job related community thing. You know, all of the usual suspects just seem to, they don't apply. You know, all of the normal causes just don't seem to apply in this case. And from all outwardly appearances, he had everything. He had the world, and chose to not. You know, to me, as much, especially after doing all these videos and all these channels, you know, on the channels and stuff, and researching and documenting all of these graves and these old stories, and telling you guys all these old stories and stuff, it just occurs to me, you know, it seems to me you only get one ride. Either way it goes, you get one trip around the sun. You know, you can ride it like a roller coaster. Come in at the end, you know, with your arms up in the air screaming about what a ride it was. The option that Joseph here chose, once you choose that option, you can't fix the problem. The problem, you simply walk away, you know, and you can't fix the original problem, whatever it was. And apparently, I don't know if it was some mental, you know, some mind thing, or some birth. Who knows? Who knows? We don't know, and we're not here to judge anyway. Anyway, guys, we will see y'all later. Thank you all for coming along and hearing our little story, visiting a few little sites with us, and just hanging out for a while. Hope y'all enjoyed the channel. You know, feel free to subscribe if you want. Help us out. Help us to continue doing what we do. And like I said, fall is coming, so we're just about to get kicked into high gear. But anyway, guys, from the gravesite of Colonel Joseph Mickey and his wife Dixie, this is Leo with the Hillbilly Files. Hillbillies out.